Hello there, and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for June 1st, 2012. Well, June is finally here, and as many of you out there know, this is the beginning of Gay Pride Month, or LGBT Pride Month, as they've been calling it in more recent years. Last year was the first year that I actually really acknowledged this by going to the Bangor, Maine Pride, nearest where I live, and actually getting a chance to film the event, which was absolutely wonderful. This year, however, I have a lot to reflect on in regard to this particular time of year, and I thought it would make an excellent first vlog for the month of June. Now, it wasn't much more than a month ago, maybe a little less than that, that the Obama administration, in particular Vice President Joe Biden, made a statement that openly advocated same-sex marriage in America. Now, within a few days of that, news reports all over the internet and all over the television made it seem as if Joe Biden owed America some sort of an apology for his remark, or the flippancy of it, or whatever word they were using, as if even mentioning that was unessential to the broader social concerns of the current election year. And of course, the next issue of I believe it was Newsweek, had a picture of, a caricature of the president with a rainbow-colored halo around his head, making a statement to the degree of the first gay president. And I know that obviously that's an enticement to get you to read a story with a more broader point of view. But even so, it's interesting how the media latches on to somebody who makes any remark about same-sex marriage among consenting adults or other such things, and seems to treat them in a way that they would somehow benefit from this. Well, I have to be abundantly honest. I've never quite understood why same-sex marriage is something that should even be an issue, and why it should be a problem of any sort. The fact is, and this is something that I know might disturb a lot of people of this sort of faith, a lot of the problem still seems to lay where it did 30, 40 years ago, in the ultra-religious, born-again Christian right wing. You know, ever since the days of Anita Bryant and people such as this, it's continued to be a problem. As I heard it stated once, as people seem to have become professionally gay-friendly, there are people who have become professionally gay-unfriendly. It's almost a corporate routine. And it's funny how these groups, arguing over what's really a social concern, take on the same kind of socio-economic roles and adversarial processes of politics. And this is not, economic politics or fiscal politics or whatever. This is social politics. And in terms of social politics, I have to say this. I volunteer for an organization called Equality Maine, who are involved in getting same-sex marriage among adults onto the ballot for a vote this month. Now, the last time, not this month, but this coming fall, now, the last time this was put on the agenda, something came into being called a people's veto, which went over, and same-sex marriage in the state went nowhere. So they decided to you know, get some more noises being made about it. And it seems to be an endless struggle over something that should just happen so easy. So you have the issue of politics, which is holding everything up, and you have the issue of same-sex marriage. Now, what I'm going to discuss with you here is the pros and cons of same-sex marriage as I see it. I'll start out with the pros. Number one, in the 1950s, a time of great economic boom for America, marriage between heterosexuals was seen as part of what the economy itself was built on. You know, you had the big suburban neighborhoods developing after World War II. You had all kinds of people getting married after the war, having their 2.3 children and living behind a white picket fence. That's the stereotype of the 1950s American experience, at least for suburban middle-class America, with many racial and cultural standards involved. I should note that at that time, homosexuality was completely illegal in this country and could result in committed people to mental institutions or prisons or whatever without any chance of a fair trial or any of that. We all know the history. As of 1974, the illegality of homosexuality was wiped from the books, and it went off the Americans' list of psychiatric disorders. Now, we come to the new millennia. It's 2012 now. Many states offer something called domestic partnership laws, which means that same-sex couples can receive certain benefits under the law. We live in a very economically unstable time. You know, people are still voting from their pocketbooks. They're still worrying about money to a huge degree. Now, in a way, perhaps the idea of same-sex marriage in a broader and more open society, which we do have, I mean, we really do, when you think about it, have a more broader and open society, would actually benefit the economy. Same-sex marriage now could mean, you know, same-sex couples buying homes, buying furniture, or adding to the economy. And I mean, maybe that's the old way of doing things, but it could definitely, you know, benefit there rather than people just living on credit the way they have been. And that's in economic terms. Unfortunately, and this pains me more than anything, the cons toward same-sex marriage are mostly on the personal end. And it has nothing to do with people who have no trouble with it. They consider the matter closed. The opposition, due to the way they were raised, due to their highly intense religious convictions, are firmly of the opinion that homosexuality is in fact a neurosis. They live by society as it viewed it before 1974, and they think that homosexuals of any sort, of any kind, should be put in a mental I can't say it. That they should be put in a mental institution or in a jail. That basically covers it. Then you have opposition of what I call self-hating homosexuals, men or women. These are people who lived during that era and have tried to live a life that is not their own. They have gotten married, they have gone to gay-bashing churches or whatever, and they have become the opposition. And because of their self-hatred over who they are the strongest element of the opposition. And oftentimes, such people encourage this adversarial process. And we live in a society full of adversarial processes. You know, for the past 10, 15 years, people fighting on TV has been a source of ratings rather than controversy against it. Also, you have the situation of, you know, the sports problem in America. People continuing to fight over a game. You know, people in America seem to like a good fight. And And most cultures in the world have had this problem. They've gradually grown out of it. But we still happen to like a good fight here. And, I think that the issue of same-sex marriage has not just become a moral concern. It's become something new to fight about. And this isn't something new to fight about. We went through this with the Civil War with the African-American community. You don't use someone's oppression, who has done nothing to you, as a bone to fight over. And that's exactly what's happening with the same-sex marriage issue. It's being used by people who enjoy the adversarial process too much, who probably are very intellectually, but not emotionally mature. And they're doing this for their own personal reasons. They claim a moral agenda that will help humanity, but in the end, it's really all about the greater glory of the person who is making this hate speech, or is encouraging others to make it, or whatever. And when you boil it down to these things, it sounds absurd, it sounds childish, it sounds sophomoric, it sounds ridiculous, it sounds like all of those things. So if something sounds so ridiculous that people might say, oh, well, why are we doing it? Then why are we doing it? It's really confusing. And, I've said this so much about everything in life. I'm going to be proud to say that because of the way I've lived and the way I've gone through life, I am very proudly a nonconformist. And on the other hand, I consider myself to be one of those people who are actually fairly level-headed and average. And do I think that same-sex marriage will be something that will happen in the future? Yes, of course I do. I wouldn't be volunteering for Equality Maine if I wouldn't. And I know a lot of people, gay, straight, or whatever, who say to me, well, it's not going to make a difference anyway, because people just don't care. The world is sick. They'll say this to me. And you see, I feel they have a pessimistic approach. I have an optimistic one. I get angry a lot, and I yell sometimes. And sometimes I feel like, I want to say things that might be unpopular. But on the other hand, there are times where I feel that looking these people in the eye and saying that, you're thinking oppression is good. The people need to know that. I mean, if they understand the adversarial process and that's all they know, put it right back in their face and say, okay, that's the last you're going to hear of it. Now, let's actually get down to the actual business of it. What will same-sex marriage mean to society? I already told you that in economic terms. And what will it mean sociologically? I already told you that. And I think in order to make same-sex marriage work in our society, we have to make the ends justify the means. It seems that a lot of the cons against it are the personal part. And a lot of people in the American voting bloc do, in fact, vote from two places: their pocketbooks or their morality. And oftentimes, especially when there's a religious background to all this, those two merge together: morality and economy. Not a very good combination. That's how a lot of wars have gotten started, that combination. And I think that if people were able to take their views out of the idea of morality and put it more into the idea of human common sense and do the same thing on the economic end, then I think this issue would start to transmute itself. I really do. And that's my word and my 2 cents on the subject. Just some things to think about. No pressure. Just wanted to make sure that I get this out there. So, know your rights. Understand what you're for. Understand what you're against, because if you do, you might broaden your mind a little bit and begin to understand. Remember, those who stand for nothing will believe anything. See you next time.